And also in celebration of that, we will have a mini ball with 5 OTA categories, some fabulous trophies, just to highlight how Ballroom can be a creative outlet and a positive outlet for people who wish to participate. A couple of ground rules. So, embody positive energy. Be receptive to the welcome energy in the room. Be receptive to the point of views and perspectives that are being presented. See if there's something you can take with you. Let good thoughts be your sword and shield. And lastly, just have fun. Enjoy yourselves. The point of this is to have a good time. The point of this is to take something with you that can make your day better. We would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors of the event, Mr. Grits and Waffles, and also up-and-coming actors. We really appreciate their willingness to contribute to this and to our cause. We also would like to take a moment to highlight our vendors, Allow Waste Fees, Summer Body Athletics, and Social Kinetic. And yes, so last, not least, I want to welcome Joshua LaBeija, who will be reciting a poem for us this evening.
Good evening. This poem is written by Soka Gakkai Buddhist Angela Grasson. Upgrade, upgrade everything you do. Upgrade everything you say and every move you make. Upgrade who you are and who you want to be. Upgrade your vision. Look deeper, look further, look forward, you see? Raise the bar for everything. Weave a greater self into all you do. If you're down, get up. If you're sad, appreciate your blessings. Count your fortune, not your misfortune. Pay closer attention. Give more of yourself. Stop talking and listen to your heart. Upgrade your love. Upgrade your thinking. Upgrade your behavior. Become part of your solution. Appreciate your struggle. Upgrade your attitude. Don't give up. Please don't give up. Don't retreat. Fight back with your weakness. Do whatever needs to be done. Do more. Be more. Advance. Advance and advance again. Get better at what you do. Get better at what you say. Be better at whoever you are. Please, today. Upgrade your daily life, new and improved. Upgrade mistakes to wisdom. Upgrade problems to opportunities. Upgrade your perspective, and all that you will have, you will upgrade your life. Thank you so much. And now, I would like to introduce to you all the founding California mother and my dear friend, Riante LaBeija.
Well, thank you so much, Joshua, for that amazing poem. Welcome, you guys. Thank you for attending our very first LaBeija event. Welcome, everyone, to our inaugural panel and mini exhibition ball. I'm your host, the founding California mother, Riante LaBeija, and it's an honor to present to you For Your Mind. When I was first offered the role of mother, I respectfully declined. Wanted to earn my respect as a ballroom-faced competitor. Through the challenges and triumphs of ballroom, I learned the value of consistency, effort, and nerve. I realized the importance of fostering a safe space where people feel valued, challenged, and nurtured. This is how the Founding California chapter was born on November 20th, 2022. With 15 founding members, we debuted it at the Latex Ball, New York City on June 2nd, 2023. Since then, our chapter has flourished, winning grand prizes state to state, earning other year nominations from within different regions, engaging in community service, and also exemplifying healthy family dynamics. As I teach my children, success in and out of ballroom is intertwined, and humility and kindness are paramount. It's okay to acknowledge the need for healing and to surround yourself with positivity. Remember, true healing begins within. As we embrace, free your mind, let the sunshine illuminate within your paths. Be gentle with yourself and understand that healing is a journey that starts within. And also, self-awareness. Thank you for your support. Moving forward, I'm delighted to introduce my ballroom hubby, founding member, Pretty Board Realness, and now our upcoming California father, Leo LaBeija.
Thank you, wifey. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, family. Good evening, family. So we're not about to be boring in a ball. Okay. As was said, my name is Aaron Whalen, and I'm the executive director and co-founder of this site that you are at, which is Da Vinci Rise High School, located at New Earth Arts and Leadership Center. So, to give a little context, Da Vinci Rise High School is a school designed to meet the needs of homeless, foster, and probation youth impacted by those systems. As you all know, our LGBTQ community is overly represented within that community. New Earth is an outstanding community organization that is really designed to meet the needs of youth who have been impacted by the juvenile justice system. Each of our 3 campuses focuses on different populations, providing resources so that schools can have youth can have equitable access to an education. With that, the space that y'all are in is a safe space. It's a sacred space. Hundreds of kids, youth trying to find their way are in here every single day. So I ask that as we celebrate, as we have joy, as we find peace and freedom in this space, that you respect it as such. Because this space is going to be filled on Tuesday, because President's Day is a holiday right now. Filled on Tuesday with beautiful, intelligent, and amazing youth who are seeking their way. And so the way that y'all leave this space is the way that they will enter this space. I also have some amazing colleagues in the audience, some folks that I know from a place called home, our South LA campus, some folks that we know from Richland Family Center, so amazing, amazing community. As was said, I'm the incoming father of the beautiful house of LaBeija. LaBeija, can I get you to wave your hands, please? Beautiful house, beautiful house. I would like to just take a quick minute to honor my wifey, the house mother, California chapter, Briante LaBeija, as well as our overall overseer, Leonidas LaBeija. This simply would not be possible without them. Also, untold tales of my prima, my girl, Evelyn Diaz. So I came in today ready to prepare this space, and Evelyn was cleaning off hundreds of chairs so that y'all can sit in them by herself, just because she loves the work that's being done here. So there could not be a more special person. I didn't read anything from this script. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, this panel is all about getting real about mental health. Mental health has long been a source of inequity within Black, brown, and queer communities. The stigma, miseducation, and deception around the manifestations of trauma, poverty, violence, unjust beauty standards, silencing, have often been placed on the backs of our people. However, the community of heroes you see on stage and will see on stage are changing that. I'm going to start with a man you've already met, the legendary Byron, also known as the man indeed for your entertainment needs, from St. Louis. Come on down, Byron. NYC, and even Jamie Foxx's latest television hit, Beat Shazam. Byron is going to be playing a special role for us tonight. Byron is a legend, is an icon, is a truly noted member in the ballroom community, and he's going to be our liaison, our cultural anthropological liaison, to really give us understanding of, for those who are new to ballroom, how this all relates, how this all connects.
You're so sweet, LaVeja.
Next. Another queen of mine, Miss Cherokee Perez Rogers. Cherokee is a licensed clinical social worker from Long Beach, California. Cherokee has spent the last 10 plus years providing holistic support to Opportunity Youth in Los Angeles County, including her position as the founding coordinator of student support services on my team at Rise High School. She is currently a supervisor at a local law firm where she continues to support Los Angeles youth. We're so happy you're here. Next is Janae. Janae Harris. A San Fernando Valley native, acts as lead care manager here at New Earth Arts and Leadership Center. Janae is an HBCU grad of Grambling State University, where she received a bachelor's in criminal justice and psychology. Janae also received a master in legal and forensic psychology from UC Irvine. Janae fiercely advocates for marginalized youth who otherwise would go unheard. Next, a true brother of mine, Chaz Cruz. A writer, poet, creative, and diversity, equity, and inclusion educator from Los Angeles. He is a published writer of 2 co-authored novels, In Case You Forgot in 2019, and Busy Ain't the Half of It in 2021. Chaz's creative work primarily explores the dimensions of race, gender, sexuality, art, and fraternity. And last but not least, Jonathan A.G. Williams. A mental health practitioner, educator, and artist living in Los Angeles, California. He graduated with a degree in psychology and has since partnered with the Department of Behavioral Health, where he collaborates with community members, students, and their parents to promote and reduce the stigma behind mental health. Jonathan strives to be known for his artistry and is passionate about promoting mental health in creative and marginalized spaces. Let's get into it. All right, Byron. You're going to start us off here. So we are going to be talking about some of the most pivotal mental health topics of this day and age by way of ballroom. So we're going to start with face. Byron, can you tell the people what face is in ballroom?
Mind you, both my international iconic Hall of Fame houses are known for this category. Also found in California, Mother Riante is known for this category too. The only one in ballroom to get grand prizes in 3 different categories of face. Now, when we speak of face, there are different elements in the categories comprised of. The first being skin, teeth, smile, structure, nose, and eyes. So mind you, this is one of the beauty categories in ballroom. And also today, as we speak, there's a ball going on in New York where they are doing tag team face for $25,000. And that's your synopsis on face.
Thank you. So, esteemed panelists, how can mental health professionals, practitioners, better address the impact of beauty standards on their clients' well-being and self-esteem?
Go Cherokee.
Start here.
All right. So I think overall with beauty standards, I think oftentimes a lot of people look at others and it's like just purely what you see. And I think the reality is that we have to have a broad range of what we find. And I mean, we see on TV and magazines, and I have seen that they are broadening their horizons in terms of what they're showing in media. But often we did see for a long time the same look, the same color, the same size, and I think we do now have to appreciate all forms and all types. And I think the more that we ourselves embrace it and are willing to tell somebody they look beautiful, the more that everybody else will start to open up their eyes to what beauty is and not keep it in this box that we've seen time and time again.
Okay, before I respond to the question, there are two things I want to say. I want to thank the House of Innovation for inviting me here and getting me out of the environment in your panel. And then two, Free Palestine. So, I think when we're talking about supporting people and the idea of beauty standards, there are two things we should be aware of. Is one, that one's individual sense of self is important, and to encourage their own sense of self. And then two, one sense of self is also informed by society, as Cherokee was saying. And so our ideas of what we think is beautiful for ourselves and others is oftentimes determined from what we've been taught. And so we gotta carry both of those things when we're working with people, because sometimes we need to work them through those own negative self-thoughts, and they don't even know the negative self-thoughts about themselves.
Okay, so when I think of beauty standards, I think it only matters about like what you see in the mirror every day. As long as that you're satisfied with that image, that's all that matters. That's all you can embrace. That's fine. Like, very big on just being true to yourself. Forget what everybody else is thinking.
I love that we're talking about beauty standards with the most beautiful panel I've ever seen. But like, it must be really hard. It must be really hard on people. One thing I want to just chime in, I think that a lot of the times our own societies, our own families, our own culture, we correct what we do not see as beautiful. And so I think about when a person's on the beach and they're wearing something that you're like, I wouldn't wear that if I was that size, right? And your kids hear that. Your people around you hear that. So I think we have to really police the negativity that we feed into who should and who shouldn't look certain ways. There's also a psychology behind a beautiful smile. And we innately trust people who are prettier to us than we do people who we deem to be unattractive. And how do you check that as well? Beauty does not mean good. Beauty does not mean kind. Beauty does not mean just. So I think really checking those innate and affirmed stereotypes in our
To add value even from the ballroom lens, it's also a conversation that's happening internally as well. Because as we know now, people tend to lean more toward cosmetic procedures as they age. So even now, what is considered face? If you bump half of your face, let's be clear, with the fillers, the Botox, this, that, let's be clear. You want for $25,000, I'm going to see my girl at Beverly Hills next week, get this bottom grill together and things. So that's also a conversation that we're having in our community as well, even though this is one of the most celebrated of our communities. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Let's move on to probably the most well-known category in ballroom, being performance. So the Honey Balenciaga, the Renaissance, where we're at right now, even Vogue, Madonna, if you talk about ages ago. But Byron, why don't you talk about what performance is?
Yes. And I love how you gave an education like that. The world know it as Vogue, but in community, we know it as performance. There's various terms of performance as well. We have hand performance, we have film, we have film queen performance, but each performance, in essence, contain 5 elements. The first element being spins and dips, the second being hand performance, the third being catwalk, the fourth being duck walk, and last but not least, floor performance. No matter what your performance consists of, you must have these 5 elements, or you get chopped. Let's be clear. If I'm on the panel, this is not your night, daughter.
So let's talk about it. So what role does movement, art, and expression play in processing challenge and struggle?
Thank you. Again, thank you all for being here. You guys all look amazing, great, fantastic. If I was a photographer, man, my profile would be going up right now. So when I think about performance and movement and dance and creativity from a psychological lens, I'm thinking about the art of play and how when we play, we're really able to live out and go through some of our traumas that are held internally, especially when I'm looking at some of the people who are doing performance. A lot of those techniques are truly advanced, and they have to psychologically, see it out first. They have to visualize it, which means they have to get through that mental hurdle first. So you as just a human being and a person being a part of Ballroom is in itself therapy. So when I'm looking at that, I'm just like, wow, these people are really putting their hearts on the line, and they're really telling their story. So yeah.
This specific movement itself, whether it's the way in which you described it, which is awesome, and in terms of like walking, running, dancing, I think it's a super big component of your well-being. And I know for some it may not be something that's possible. You may not be able to get out and move, but it is like proven that if you are, experiencing depression or anxiety, that the endorphins that are provided by doing that type of activity just automatically makes you feel better. And so I think just movement itself is a big, big part of mental health and your mental well-being. So much so that they actually say that if you have anxiety or anything of the nature where your heart is pounding a lot when something happens, the more that you work out, the more that your body actually gets used to like a fight or flight response. And so when you are actually getting used to that, then when that moment comes, you're actually a lot more calm. And so I know sometimes people, like when we would have certain situations happen at Rise, and there were like fights and things of that nature, and I'm like calm. It could tie to that, but I do in my own life see the correlation between the more that I get my heart used to pumping and being in certain situations, the more calm you can be in others and learn how to handle them and deep recapture.
Okay, just one more other thing, and then I'm going to open it up to myself. So when it comes to the culture of Ballroom, and please correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm fresh, I'm new. So be easy, be easy. So when I'm looking at just the culture of Ballroom and how it started as a beauty standard, when we're looking at the African American culture diaspora and mixed with the Latin diaspora as well a little bit, I'm looking at how we culturally, historically, would go through therapy, and that's through song and dance. So some of us truly actually get connected spiritually when we're, y'all, we, us, are performing. So that's just another tidbit to just realize and take with you, like when you're actually watching these people. That's why some of us are so connected, yelling, we're so happy because we are living vicariously through our brothers and sisters that are performing. So that's something that's really impactful.
I was just going to add on to that is that thinking of Ballroom. Also, if I have a list, I pay for this grill. But when I think about performance and Ballroom and what you just said, the role of movement and art is to also provide a space for us to imagine what is possible. And I think Ballroom is that when we see people telling their stories in creative ways or moving their bodies differently, and for those who are like myself who watch it, my mind expands. And then now I'm able to view the world a little bit better. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about performance and Ballroom.
Yes, to add value to both of those sentiments, because especially in the terms of performance, usually the goal is to unleash the femme queen essence, which is out for mothers of the scene. Ballroom started on the backs of black and brown drags who were discriminated against in the drag world, so we started our own. So that is one of the goals, to unleash your femme queen, which is also why when they allowed us butch queen, which is the male figures of the scene, to come in, the category was called Butch Queen Voguing Femme, or Butch Queen Voguing like a femme queen. But y'all, we gonna carry later on, but yes, to yield the mic.
All right, let's talk about best dress. Arguably one of the most expensive categories in Ballroom. Byron, give us some rundown on best dress.
DJ pump the beats, I could just storm. But no, guys, I left my Christian, so I'm gonna leave it. But let me stop. I just threw this on. But best dress. Best dress is one of the fashion categories and adding value to my international iconic house. My founding mother, father, Yusuf, actually received one of the highest earning categories at the Lanvin Board in October, $7,000. See, the girls be spending coin. Let's be clear, and winning it too. Miyake, Mugler. But in this fashion category, there are a few domains or elements. The first being your garment, of course, and in that how you sell it, the presence and attention that you command as you enter the space, how you also showcase and maximize the garment. If it's a cape, how it drapes over you, the fluidity of it all, but it's all not only what you're wearing, but how you present it to the world and on the floor as well.
Thank you. So relatedly, how do you define self-image, and how does it relate to an individual's sense of identity and self-esteem?
The international iconic house of Miyake Mugler. So no, self-image. One thing I do feel, one thing I've always loved about forging my queerness is that I've always looked at queer people as demigods of the earth. Anything you want to cardinalize in the earth, a queer person can get it. From your architects, to your beauty, to your garments, no shade. Behind everything there lies a butch queen. Let's be clear, you know, you see all the behind the scenes. Oh, look at my sister, look at my niece, look at my Mugler, you know. So in that, I love that in Ballroom, as we go out to the world, some of us still struggle with how we show up in the world. But in Ballroom, that's the only time a lot of us get to let our hair down. But also, some of us also find the confidence in Ballroom to transcend and project it into the world at large, which I'm a vessel and entity of that. Let's be clear. So that's how I feel about it.
Something you'll see as you go to balls is Ballroom is beautifully draped in delusion. It's the most delulu place you'll see. That is the most beautiful place you'll see. And I think what I find in best dress is that yes, sometimes there's people with the thousands and thousands of dollars of garments on, but sometimes there's people who don't have that. And those beautiful things, the confidence and the energy that exudes from that, it teaches me how to live better. It's not necessarily always about the expense of the garment, but it's about how you show up in the world and how you walk through your life. And you don't need to be wearing those Jimmy Choos to be feeling like you're wearing Jimmy Choos, because for many years we couldn't. So then what does it mean to still walk in that? I think that's something that we learn from the parents of our houses, right? Like, how do you walk as if you have that on? Because if you can wait till you're wearing them, you're not going to appreciate them by the time you have them on.
Yeah, that's a fact. Like you said too, because we also have what we call Kiki labels. So like even for my birthday ball, I love a blazer, but you have to bring in a blazer under $50. And you would then win $100. So I paid for the blazer, and you have a couscous to carry on for the evening. You see what I'm saying? So you have best dress, you go to the labels, then we have Kiki labels. Girl, get your fashion over on, no shade.
Let's move on. So we're going to talk about probably one of the sexier categories. We're going to talk about sex iron tonight, but we are going to talk about body. We're going to talk about body. So, Byron, why don't you give us a rundown on the body meaning for Ballroom?
Well, as y'all saw with that little Popeye style, I just want to make sure this is HBO Max audience, right? Not Disney Plus, okay? I know we're in a school, I want to be within my limits, let's be clear. But body is another category when you want to think of like a beautiful, tasteful strip tease, the development, the cuts of the body, the torso, the biceps, everything. This is usually the most well-moist category, for lack of a better term. And depending on the ball, there's various ways on how you will bring it, if it's a Christmas thing, whatever the case may be, so you get real creative in how you showcase the body. Now, what I love too, a lot of the categories are regional based. I just recently did a Miyake Mugler weekend in Paris. And overseas, you would be surprised, the more plus size sex sirens tend to wake the room up and win the grand prizes. And it was so beautiful to see that Ballroom is in that space of body positivity and inclusivity as well. So it's not just how most of the categories start as model body, but it's body. Bread, carbohydrates, brown sugar, let's be clear. Let's be clear.
So let's dig into that concept of body positivity. What are some effective strategies for promoting body positivity and acceptance in individuals, communities, and institutions? Individuals, communities, institutions.
I think it starts with speaking life into others. In passing, in meetings, just whenever you see fit. Like, I feel like social media really does a number on us, and the fact of like what is considered the it girl, it boy, it whomever. And it's tough. I think that it makes it tough for like everybody, and it's like no one's necessarily comfortable with themselves. And I think, sorry, I'm like processing, because like I feel real like passionate about that, because I just hate that everyone feels like they have to live up to something. It's like you is enough. That's perfectly enough.
Yes.
And whoever's telling you otherwise, let me know, because I'll say something. But yeah, I think speaking life into yourself, positive affirmations, I think working in a space with youth that they always feel like, oh, well, they're not gonna like me because I'm not wearing this and I gotta have this label. It's like we said, when it comes to, best dress. If you can make a trash bag look good, you better wear that goddamn trash bag. It don't matter. Like, I think as long as we're like kinder to one another, that's gonna lift everybody's self-image up.
When I think about this category, especially after hearing you talk about, the Paris Ball, and it takes me back to the movie Fat Girls, and that was one of my most enlightening movies that I've seen growing up. And when I watched that movie and I think about it and reflect on it today, it was truly about people finding their community, and even someone who was, didn't have the right clothes, they didn't know what to wear, they didn't know how to wear it, but they put themselves around people who are like them, but more further along than they are. So it kind of forces you to adapt and evolve and change. Even myself being a part of the community, I come from a mental health background, so just being a part of the ballroom scene is like, well, this is different. We walking around with no clothes on and X, Y, and Z, that's conflicting. So it's like, when we have these conflicting narratives, it's like, we have to surround ourselves with people who are doing what we want to be doing, feeling how we want to be feeling, so that we can truly embody ourselves. Because we already have the body, that's not going to change. When you have what you have, you can change it, but you can't change it nowadays. But just being around people who are more polished than you are, and allowing yourself to just flourish through that. So yeah.
Into that, I was going to say, what we can do. What we can do as an organization, continue to do in society, is to make space to really celebrate and really believe that all natural bodies, every form of natural body, is beautiful in value. And so when we do these celebrations or these categories or have competitions based on the body, making sure we have categories that honor the different varieties of body. Able body, disabled bodies, small bodies, big bodies, fat bodies, skinny bodies, all natural kind of bodies, and do less of celebrating bodies that have been worked on. And when I mean worked on, it's also meaning working out to create muscle, which is good for your body, for your health. But when we do that to celebrate it the way it looks, then we cause harm.
This is actually a question to you. Yes. Do you think, based off of what you just said, do you think that it's possible in Ballroom to open up the platform for those body types that are not able, or that look different than able body? And what does that look like, in the history of Ballroom?
So normally in the history of ballroom, as he said, for a category breakdown, is usually the more major the ball is, where they have space where it's like how tonight we're doing what we call OTA categories, which is open to all. So when you, whenever you are in a specific category, you're still open to walk. Whereas sometimes, like last year in New York, let's say for instance, like a runway, there's like 7 to 8 different breakdowns of runway, and even now Ballroom is so more inclusive to the GNC. That's our thing now on topic of our discussion in the breakdown of GNC. So like in runway, there's all-American runway, which is also the more masculine runway, but even now we have women who walk it, which you actually see tonight as well. So Ballroom is always on the inception, the precipice of breaking those barriers and boundaries. So the more major the ball, the more that individual category will be highlighted. So next we have Big Girls Runway. Big, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, Big Girls, 10987654, you know, last call. So, and then from there we break it down so each individual category can be highlighted. So that's how we do it at Ballroom.
And GNC is gender non-conforming, by the way. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about realness. Let's talk about realness. One of the most controversial, but one of the founding kind of original categories. I walk realness. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. I'm becoming father of Asia. But as he said, realness is one of our most controversial and historical categories in Ballroom because it is a binary category. Usually cisgender and transgender individuals walk in because the essence of realness is to pass. So of course, historically, being queer was not always celebrated in today's society. So the goal of realness was to see who can walk to the store without getting beat up or clocked, meaning them knowing that they are a transgender individual or a gay man. So there's other variations of realness. We have school board realness, executive realness, everyday realness, you know. Y'all gonna see all this later. You know, what is it? Thug realness. It's the thuggish, ruggish, but come on, for the Bone Thugs and Harmony individuals who want to walk balls. Let's be clear. So, but realness, that's another reason we're still trying to see we want to include in our lineups because especially as the world becomes more communal in identity, we want to make sure we honor all individuals.
Thank you. All right, panel. How do you define toxic masculinity, and what are some of its key? And what are some of the key characteristics?
I'm gonna let y'all start. I'm a Butch Queen.
When I think of toxic masculinity, I think of a person who is internally not comfortable with themselves and puts that on other people. So, honestly, I think it's very unnecessary. I'm very against, and I think they need to do the internal work before they even think of putting out whatever they're feeling onto somebody else.
Yes. And to add on to that, when I think about toxic masculinity, I think about a gender expression, a gender thought where masculinity is dominant over anything else. And so oftentimes it's prescribed to men or masculine-centered people. And so it becomes a way of showing, which I do believe is an insecurity internally, but it's also taught showing power over individuals and practices. And it shows up in so many different ways. And what we can do to address that, because it impacts us as queer people, because we also learn these things. What we can do is try to correct it when we see it being exposed in an individual, meaning calling it out and giving room for a person to change. But if they do not change, then you have to remove yourself. And that can be also hard to do because, we navigate people we love. So, I'll just say that.
I might have to disagree with you on the.
No.
No, we disagree on this point. hey, okay? No, because when we look back into just the line you said when it comes to men, it becomes showmanship, right? Yes, but when we look into history itself and just DNA, we look at lions, right? The males have the bigger manes, and the peacocks have the big tails and the chauvinistic colors and all these things. And going back to the tribes, the males were the ones typically who had the bigger garments, who had the bigger regalia and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's the chauvinistic part of it all that's actually the toxic part, as it maybe is like the makeup. Not necessarily the makeup that you put on, but it could be though, because there's a lot of makeup and there's a lot of veils that get put on, because we talk about the masculinity part just only being of the male figure, but if we're talking about performance and what it looks like, then no shade to anybody in here, whatever you do, but it can be like maybe there's too much nail polish, or maybe there's a lot of not really looking at yourself in just the beauty who you are. Because realistically speaking, historically speaking, a lot of the chauvinistic stuff comes from the male anyway, so maybe it's imitation that's the toxic part. I don't know. That's all spiritual on that whole lot.
I'm veering off, so you can go. You're not gonna go in a different direction. Okay. Okay. Y'all haven't caught on. My mind is like purely mental health. I would try my best to connect it to ball, but so in terms of toxic masculinity, I think as Chaz was talking, one thing that popped up in my head, which I think has just happened generation after generation, is the idea that men themselves cannot show emotion, men themselves cannot say how they feel, they cannot cry, and I think that is huge, and I've seen it time and time again, and so I think that is very toxic, but it's generational, so I think that we can't blame a person, but I do think it's something that we should really work on, and the best way to do that is to be open about it with the fellow men you may be around, and it can come across in many different ways, but I definitely think that emotion itself has been, and specifically in Black communities, we have to be strong if we look this way, if we don't say how we feel, and so I really do think that is one thing that is really, really hard to see, but I think we're making way.
I also want to add to that an idea of that it's generationally passed down, and I think that also comes to like toxic masculinity, think of like gender norms, because it's not just men who do this, females do it too. And the fact was like, oh, you're supposed to only act this way, and like says who? Who said I can only act in these 6 little bullet points because I have to walk this way, talk this way, be with this person? Nobody told me that. My mama didn't, so why are you? I think, like you said, everyone just has to be open to color outside the lines a little bit, so we can minimize from this like continuing to happen and break the cycle.
And yes, Cherokee, you trigger me in the most amazing ways. I have a friend who actually is recent to forging his queerness, and it's so funny, especially the more he ventures outside of home, the more he gets to explore. And I realized too, there are certain patterns when he returned home, and I realized too, especially he's also of African descent, and realized certain things that just grew up from his programming that were cultural. So I had to let him have a little grace with yourself, because you are still into the process. And mind you, it's given circumstantial. When you are, like I said, around your brothers, your mothers, and all that, it makes sense. And that's, like you said, that's a struggle of legacy. Let's be clear. So I love that you did go that way, because it do add value to the realness boys. Let's be clear.
Just to add, I think something that I've expressed and talked about with a lot of youth that we serve is the answer to a lot of your unexpressed biases are in your body. So when you start as a male presenting person, when you start to feel that tear and you pull it back, pause. Right? We can talk all day. We can be like, oh, we're healed, and we can talk all day, but what did your body do? And then it's like, oh, there's more room to grow. Or when you see a male-bodied person fat, walking down the street just strutting hips, more, and then it's always a comparison, right? Yeah, more hips than me, right? We love that. And then what does your body do? And I think we can talk about everything. We can speak to all the collegiate terms, but when our bodies start to tense up, there's more work to be done there, because that's not invisible. People see you, and you make decisions based on that bias that you have in your body. And I say a lot of that does come from not being in queer spaces, not being in places where it's celebrated, but then you're going to be police forward with that.
Thank you for your insight too, because when I think about that and how men, we're not, raised to talk about our feelings and emotions, sometimes that even looks like when our partners abuse us and we don't talk about those things. And it could be domestic violence in the house, or maybe you're that person that's going a little too overboard with your aggression and not necessarily checking that at the door. And I don't know the rates, but I could just imagine that this is a component as to why many of us aren't together, because we've been hurt and we have not gone through that healing. So being open with your friends and families about the hurt that you've gone through, that someone else has put you through, because it truly is that energy that has not been checked, that masculine energy that just runs wild and rampant, especially when you look at like rogue elephants and stuff. They just go and they hurt whatever is in their way. So if it's you or someone you know that's hurting someone or being hurt, you can get help for that. And there are a lot of resources for that, just checking your energy at the door. So,
But also too, in that I love that these inserts came up, because that is sometime when you're transitioning to the ballroom space, getting the terminology for example, a lot of people don't know, they always, especially the male figures when they come in the scene, what's the witch queen, or why do you call me a witch queen? And not knowing that it's a badge of honor, because like I said, when the scene started, it was only can ride femme queens or drags, and they didn't allow men to participate. And since we didn't conform to their aesthetic, so then of course that's when witch queen categories came in, where male figures could walk into ballroom, and knowing that that is the term that as we enter that space, then how they highlight the masculine. Everybody always heard the term queen, because even me, when I came, I don't like queen, don't call me that, but knowing that as you enter the space is actually a badge of honor, and it speaks to the history of it as well. So yeah, I love that we did that.
So as we close, the question really is, so now what? So panelists, there are two questions that you can select from around how you would like to close this session. So one is, are there any specific online or community resources that can help individuals connect with mental health services that you would like to promote or share with the audience today? Or, how can we reduce the stigma associated with seeking professional mental health? Like questions.
I'm just go back to a show that I used to watch when I was younger, and it really truly helped me understand where I fell along on the spectrum. I grew up around brothers in a very masculine household, and a mother too. The family is still intact, but a very masculine household with one female and feminine energy in there. And a show that I watched when growing up was a show called Shirts and Skins. I don't know if any of you have heard of it or watched it, but it was basically based in California up north, and there was basketball players, and they were queer, and it was like my first, wow, these people are playing basketball, but also it talked about the love stories that they have for one another on the team. So it was just really enlightening to see that, especially as, I think it was 9 or 10 watching that, you know what I'm saying, not really being able to identify that I myself as a queer man could be still play these things, these tough sports, but also have love for someone of the same sex.
Amen.
Yeah.
Are we all answering? Perfect. Great. I'll answer the second question, which is how can we reduce the stigma? We can just normalize mental health in our conversations. All my friends, my colleagues, they know therapy is a part of my everyday life. It's part of my world, and I talk about therapy. I talk about the things that I've learned in therapy, and I normalize it with my nieces and nephews, with the children because you're talking about legacy. I love that you brought up legacy. I talk about it with the older folks and the young folks about the things that I'm learning and unlearning at the same time.
Yes, I want to add to that, definitely normalize the conversation of mental health, normalize that it's okay to express your feelings, normalize that it's okay to have these conversations. There's no reason to be scared, because I'm sure the person next to you, across from you, is having the same exact feeling that you have. But you know, it always feels nice to like, oh, someone's feeling it with me, like you know. I think also it's okay, like being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's not going to be an easy conversation, but we have to be willing to have the conversation if we really want to reduce the stigma.
Facts.
Yes, this one is by far my favorite question, because I think specifically this is like a huge push on my behalf. So I think things such as this, so shout out to LaVeja, for doing something like this, because I think mental health has for a long time been something that has been unspoken. And so I feel that by talking about it, as they've said, by living it, I think for a long time it was like, I will not share with anybody that I'm in therapy. And like that you tell someone you went to, I mean, sometimes you don't tell someone you went to the doctor, but we easily speak of doctor, dentist, and this should equate right next to that. And I do know, and I myself am a therapist, so I do understand the process to get to therapy is difficult. Where do I find a therapist? How do I do this? So I will, since no one answered that question, I will give a version of it. There are a lot of different, online is one way, they do have the online teletherapy option, so there's like the BetterHelp, there's Path. There's also versions to find it. I'm like older school, I know people find it other ways, but Psychology Today gives you like a list of therapists. They tell you in person, online. And so if you go on Psychology Today, you just look up, you can find who you want, you can see if they're in person, you can see if they take your insurance. That's my go-to. I think there's like newer ways to do it, but you can do it that way. And so I think just having conversations is key, honestly. I just feel like we have to really talk about like, hey, I'm thinking about going to therapy, or hey, I saw a therapist, I didn't like them, because it is like dating. So just overall, and the last bit that I'll add is that I know a big piece is cultural, like depending on your culture, it's like I'm not telling my mom, dad, or grandma that I'm going to therapy, because they're gonna be like, you don't need that, like, and there has been versions of like, you don't need that, just pray. But like in this day and age, we all, and I think I shout out to our generation, we all are really like, we need it and we're gonna go do it. And like Chaz said, I'm gonna talk about my therapist. Yeah, and so I just think overall. I have a question for you, the go-to. Yeah.
Specifically, what are tools that you would recommend for people to help encourage others who need therapy?
That's a great question.
That's an amazing
Repeat the question for the audience.
Yes. Question was, what tools could I potentially have, which I myself am, working on that component too, but to encourage somebody to go to therapy. There's a lot of levels to this, I will say, because the person has to want to do it. I think if they have brought up any version of openness to wanting to talk to someone, dive in right there. If they bring up any version of not wanting to go, stop right there. I think one thing we learn with as therapists is to meet them where they're at. So that's in therapy, but I think with anybody who you're trying to encourage to go to therapy, meet them where they're at. If it is not the time for them, it is not the time for them. You cannot force them because they will not grow within their sessions. But I think just having open conversations, I think the more that you can just say, okay, it's now not the time, all right, we'll try again next month. We'll try again next month. I think just the more that you catch them where they're at and just keep bringing it up and encouraging them. I'll take you to your first session. Sit outside, have some lunch while you go, and then you come back and tell me how it was. Good question. It's very, yeah.
Oh, now all y'all right.
I just want to ask what she said. Right. No, truly. And just to piggyback off you for real, because you talked about culture and our grandmothers and our brothers and sisters and moms and aunts. Finding a Black therapist or a Latin therapist is one of the highest determining factors of whether or not therapy is going to work. Obviously, if you want it as well, but that cultural alliance piece is so important so that you don't have to sit here and tell somebody the experiences that you lived as a Black person. And then as a queer person or as a queer man or a trans, you can seek those things out. It may be a longer wait, but you're gonna be waiting anyways. You're already been sitting in it.
So you might as well just know that you have someone on your side who looks like you, talks like you, breathes like you, knows experience, or to some degree, that part. And also, to help you out, tool is maybe not necessarily going into detail, but maybe talk about your own, relationship with your therapist. And maybe that will encourage someone to go as well too, to see how you're benefiting too. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
So I want to add to what Cherokee was saying, the fact of just like, if there's any inkling that they want to go, build on that, and then if, they're completely shut out, just stop there. I also want to consider the fact of just like, just working with youth, some people don't even know what therapy really is. They think they're just there to pick you apart and get in on your business. And it's like, no, it's really having like an intellectual conversation and giving you coping mechanisms of how to deal with the emotions that you're feeling. So I think the more we normalize open conversation with a little, sprinkle of mental health in there, people will be like, oh, that's all we're doing? We're just talking. Okay, I'll try it. So yeah, normalize, have conversations. It sounds easier said than done, but that's all it really takes. Like saying, it's like also generational, just like, nope, we're gonna be shut out, not talk to anybody, but like, what good has that done to any of like the hierarchy of our families? Not very good, not mine, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, open, honest conversation.
Love that.
I want to say there are so many things we could talk about in each of these categories, so these are like tidbits, and so I'm glad you asked that question because it made me think of a few things. One, we've all talked about therapy, and as my friend here, I was looking at you because you were like, something was going on and you mouthed it to me. It was one of my best friends. About like, we need to talk about like, it is a privilege to go to therapy because it also costs. Even though there are resources for people to get it for free, however, it still costs. And so I don't want us to just rely on the idea of like the kind of therapy we're talking about as the only source of providing resources for mental health. Because to answer your question, how do we, what tools can we do? One is really be in community with that person or the people, like getting to know them, knowing what their interests are, and then like planting seeds on their interests. So for example, if someone is not open to the idea of like talking to one person, but that person enjoys reading, there are books around mental health, about anything. Because for me, therapy offers an opportunity to reflect. And a lot of us in this capitalist society, we don't have opportunities to really reflect on our lives, on how we can do things different. And so when you get to know somebody intimately, you get to know their interests, and then try to plant seeds for them to pause and reflect on their life. And therapy is that for me because I can afford it, but many of us come from places where we can't. And I hope that was okay, because I'm like, I'm not a therapist, so.
No. I think this will be, I promise I'll be quick. I think that actually is a very, very, I think you said you brought that. That is a very, very valid point, because I think now, too, it's like there's like a weird push for it to be like, we don't take this, because it's like a process to go through insurance, so it's like pay out of pocket. And so I do think that is a great point, and I think at the point in which you're not able to do that route, utilize, like Chad said, the reading, the working out, the whatever version of it that comes across for you. I will say do not utilize the people around you, because you can go down a deep rabbit hole of like, this person is making me feel better when I talk to them, and that is a lot for that person. So that will be the one, they don't need to carry it. So if you can't go to someone, then go to the, this place to work out, this place to read, this place to dance, movement. And then I go just the last piece is when you are in the process of like, okay, maybe I can't afford it, it is expensive. There is versions of every other week. There is versions of I'm gonna do it for like 2 months, and therapists might think different, but you might be like, that's all I got, and give me 2 months worth of it. So there's like short-term version, because it could just be like an adjustment type thing. So just keeping that in mind, it does not have to be long-term, but in the process, there are other routes. Just don't utilize. You can have conversations with people around you, but don't dive deep, because it really does affect the other person.
Yes. And I'll speak to add value to especially the more frugal end. Even one of my favorite books is The Body Keeps the Score. You can also, that can start there, Amazon, Google, digital, audiobook, all of it. That's a huge one. So that also too, local-based organizations where I got free therapy was actually SoCal Club. If you are identified as queer, they can offer you for I think I had a 6 month therapist, and then of course I graduated out of therapy. And then of course too, if you want to continue, they also have continued resources there, so I can connect you to SoCal. And also another wonderful mental health organization, Beam. Yolo Kiwi, oh my God, my good Judy, shout out, I love you. So proud of you. But they do a lot of, they have a national reach now, but they are based here in California. They have monthly and quarterly programming, and some of it is even incentivized as well. So if you're interested in anything I just stated, come see me after the ball, and don't get chopped. Let me stop this.
All right, let's go ahead and give them a round of applause. So we have a ball to throw. So I'm going to yield the mic over to Mr. Byron Blair to get us started.
As he stated, y'all, let's give another round of applause for our panelists. Another father of Asia. Oh, yes. So, did anybody have any further questions before we get on? Who your question, please, raise your hand. Are you coming? Come on down. I love this Barbie. I'm my Barbie, girl. You love Barbie. Anyway, we finna keep.
Hi, y'all. Yes. Today was amazing. I loved it. I loved everything, the performance and everything else. So I'm from New York. So I'm from Ballroom Mecca.
Yeah.
A lot of things y'all said it makes sense, but there were some pieces I felt like that were missing. Part of mental health and things like that.
Come on.
I'm gonna help talk. Yeah, this is my girl. We do this. So just with the mental health and stuff coming from a ballroom aspect, I know we kind of flip back and forth from the community and then the ballroom community, and they are very two different things. So being a ballroom definitely has tough skin. If you didn't have any type of worry about your mental status, you will after you leave ballroom. So I know you guys talked about the face and everything. So in boxing there is a weight. You have to weigh a certain heavyweight, lightweight. There's a criteria. Face only kind of has that criteria because of the stigma, how how big it is. And we start to pick out what face is and what is not. Then we now don't have a developed category anymore. So a lot of people worry about on the outside. Ballroom is an acceptance community. People come to ballroom because this is therapy. We are therapy. They come to understand that I'm acceptance here, about the realness and everything. The realness and masculinity, all that comes into form is because of the acceptance that, I can walk in the street. I can't go here. I am not clockable. I am real, And then when we start, sometimes, when in yourself, when you start to think I'm not real, or they chop me, so maybe I'm not real, and all that aspect, it becomes not more so of a mental thing, but it becomes like a you thing. You came this far, you already there, you already in the community, you already real, you're already, so and it's an internal things which your peers say and things like that. And also a lot of the fashion and stuff like that. So when the girls walk fashion and stuff like that, the girls be walking fashion with lights off, no water, no gas, no food. So that's a stress level already. They rather starve, not eat, go rob somebody to make sure they have Louis Vuittons, YSL, Giuseppe's, and X, Y, and Z on, just to go to that ball, to win that category. The girls in New York, I'm not saying New York, girls in New York, you get down. However, they go out their way to prepare for a category, which will cause a mental barrier, a breakdown. I'm walking this bull, but when I go home, I'm sleeping on the pier. You know, I'm at this bowl, I look fat, but hey, can I sleep at your house tonight? You know, so those mental breakdowns start to go, and I understand y'all going back and forth, like, you know, the community stuff. But in Ballroom, we are the therapy. We nurture, caress, guide, you know, the therapy, and not take it away from all the doctors and physicians out here. You know all of that. Definitely go see somebody. But the fact that you're already in Ballroom, your therapy has already started. You know, also we've had a lot of deaths in, you know, Ballroom. Like, I don't know, I'm tired of looking at my phone, seeing RIP, you know, and things like that. So the mental part of that also breaks down in us as African American, you know, LGBT, Latin American, whatever. That also comes within, and it projects in Ballroom the way and things that we feel. I'm still hurting from my brother dying 3 years ago, you know. So.
But did you have a question for you about it?
No. This was just a overall statement because, you know, I'm becoming legendary.
But you know, I know.
And I am the mecca of Ballroom. But I just felt like there's some things missing that really that need to be touched about, and you know, in Ballroom and things like that. So it was no question. It was just a general statement.
Yes. Y'all give it up for becoming legend. Say, Basquiat. And Roger, stay tuned, because he will be giving a Batman says in a few moments, but I got you the bone. Now, also, too, to give instructions right now, we are doing a quick 10-minute intermission, but to maximize the space.